All right, so here's the issue. You want to shoot with an off-camera flash. You have your trigger, you place it on your camera, you turn it on, you've got your settings dialed in, and you can't see anybody. Your EVF is dark, your monitor is dark. What is going on? How can you focus and compose your shots if your screen is dark? This is a very common thing that I hear from people, and in this video, I'm going to show you what the issue is, and most importantly, how to fix it. Welcome back, everyone, and let's get right into this topic. So what's happening is the camera is working exactly as it's intended to, okay? I know that sounds weird, but with these cameras, you have live view, right? So right now I'm at f8, 1/160th of a second, ISO 100. If you watch any of my flash photography videos, you're gonna see that I use those settings all the time. And if I tell you those settings and you try dialing them into your camera and you haven't done what I'm about to show you, it's possible that you're gonna be seeing a dark screen, and it's actually correct. That's what you should be seeing, because these settings are actually underexposing the light that's in the room right now. So if that's doing its job properly, then you should be getting an underexposed image. That's why the screen is dark, because those settings, if I took a photograph, it would yield a dark photo. Now, how do we fix it? Well, there's a couple of different things. The first issue could be that the trigger that you're using, in this case, I'm using a Westcott trigger. This one is not made specifically for Sony. It's a universal remote. So what's happening is when I put this on, the camera doesn't recognize that I actually have a trigger on there, so it's not turning off this very important feature, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, if you have a remote that is specifically made for Sony, being that it has the multi-interface shoe, when you put your trigger onto the camera, it should work. There shouldn't be any issues. Your screen should adjust so that you could see what you're trying to photograph. But if it doesn't, here's how you fix it. All right, so the easiest way for you to be able to fix this if you're having this issue with your camera, it's actually a couple different ways. First way would be that you want to get the trigger that actually has the multi-interface shoe, because those are made for Sony cameras, and that will disable a feature called Live View. Now, that Live View feature, if it's turned on and you have these types of settings, you're gonna kill all the light in the room. It's gonna be really hard to compose your shots, really hard to focus. So that's option one. Make sure that you're using a remote that's actually made for Sony. In all honesty, the best way to be able to fix this issue is to actually go into your camera settings, go to your custom key settings. You could assign any button on pretty much any Sony camera to basically disable and enable live view display. That's actually the issue. If you have live view display, if it's turned on, when you put those settings into your camera, it's gonna darken your screen. You're not gonna be able to see anything. But if you assign it to a custom button, you could turn it off and on based on your needs. So if you're in the studio shooting with an off-camera flash, you notice that when you put the remote on your camera that it's not disabling live view to where you could see what you're shooting. Simply set it to a custom button. You can push the button at any time, turn it off, turn it on. Obviously, when you're done shooting with an off-camera flash, you wanna make sure you turn it back on, because that's the power of a Sony camera, is being able to go outside, adjust your aperture, your shutter speed, your white balance, and you can see what those adjustments are doing to the photo. But in the studio, it's different. Your camera settings are actually controlling the ambient light in the room, and you shouldn't see the ambient light in your photos. So it's showing you the correct thing. It's just not helping us out to achieve the photos that we want to achieve. So you want to disable that when you're shooting with a flash in the studio. Now, if this has happened to you before, don't feel bad. This literally happens to pretty much everyone who's shooting with an off-camera flash for the first time, and it could be a little bit confusing. Hopefully it makes a little bit more sense why this is happening, but more importantly, how you fix it. Super simple. Really quick note as well, if you have an older Sony camera like the Sony a7, the Alpha 7 II, Alpha 7 R2, those cameras, you will definitely have to go into your settings and turn that live view display feature, put it to a custom button, turn it off and on. It takes a second, very simple to do, but it's gonna save you a lot of trouble if you're shooting with an off-camera flash in the future. So hope that helps. Big thanks to Caitlin for joining us for today's video. Be sure to give her a follow. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel, because we have new videos releasing all the time. Now, if you want to learn more about portrait photography, check out one of the videos that you see here on the screen. I think you'll find them very helpful, and I'll see you there.